Relevant to our interests is brought to you by Jerry's Boats, the only boat voted most delicious by an independent conclave of deep-sea horrors.
Hey folks, quick content warning. If you don't want to hear about John and Frank's medical adventures, skip to 11 minutes and 15 seconds. All right, hey everybody, it's Frank, and with me as always is... I'm pointing to you.
A pirate.
Through the camera.
A pirate.
A pirate.
Pirate.
And with me as always is John the pirate.
A pirate, which is a parrot pirate. So
actually, he's John the fisherman. For those of you who know, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Hey, anyway, so this is relevant to our interests, and today we're talking about the live-action One Piece on Netflix.
It's got a bunch of pirates.
It's mostly just pirates, just doing pirate stuff. I would argue that even
it's kind of a nice
Marines.
It's kind of a nice break from all the superheroes. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, it is. Of course, we haven't even talked about superheroes since we rebooted this.
Yeah, I was just speaking more in general because
that's fair.
I mean,
I don't know if we will. Honestly,
I don't know.
Something really catches our attention. Probably, maybe. But
if
anyway,
it's, relevant to our interests.
Yes, if it's relevant to our interests. Anyway, so to start off with a little update on life, a little what's interesting, what have you. We did last episode. We got a little personal. I talked about a new family member. John talked about the game system he's working on. This time, we're also going to be a little personal because John and I have had both had hospital fun.
Yeah.
Since we recorded the last episode, which is why the last episode was a week late. Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, although weirdly, it doesn't actually register as personal to me anymore because I have been in and out of hospitals so many times the last 7 or so years that it doesn't even. It's like I died for a little bit. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
It's all good. Yeah. But anyway, you can go first actually if you want to. Yours is the more serious in some ways, I think.
Basically, I had some, because I have a stent, which is where they basically pop a couple of holes in your liver so that there's better blood flow. And I had a couple of blockages in there because of some insurance fuckery. And so they kind of went in and roto-rootered those the blockages. And
yeah,
I've been mentioning to people, I've been telling this story, and people seem to believe that I'm like that the whole roto-rooter thing is like a metaphor. It's really not. Like they went in and I'm pointing to this little thing on my neck, and this is apparently just for Frank.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm the only one who can see it because it's not a video podcast.
I know. That's basically that's exactly what I said, only with less words.
It's true. I don't care.
I had so they popped a little hole in my neck, went down in my veins, and literally used a little and broke up the blockages, exactly like you would use like your big get those big industrial snakes from the plumber there. Now, it wasn't actually a plumber that came in, at least as far as they told me. But aside from that,
did they actually mention who did it? Did they say this is the doctor that did the actual surgery, or did they just say this is the doctor?
The only contact I had, because basically they popped me in, moved me to the bed they were doing in. There was some talk of a towel, and then they kind of shaved a really weird pattern in my chest hair.
And that was for their amusement, not for any real.
It's like it looks like a Tetris block. Really, is what it is. This is like whoop whoop whoop. It's like a little C-shaped Tetris block. It's very bizarre. Yeah. But basically, they just popped in, and they're like, "Oh, okay, count back from 10. We're gonna hit you with the anesthetic." And I believe that I hit I believe I was asleep when they said 11. They didn't actually say 11, but that's when I was asleep by.
Yeah.
I was just
Okay.
Poof.
So it didn't take. It never does. And the few surgeries I've had where they've completely knocked me out.
I've had some where it like takes a while. Like,
yeah.
I mean, but this one was like, it is the fastest that it has worked. It's just been like the and.
So anyway, yeah, Roto-Rooter John, you're still kind of recovering from that.
Yeah, basically.
Kind. Yeah. So he's still in a little bit of pain. So forgive him.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and it's a day by day thing. There's and actually it's even like an hour by hour thing where, sometimes I'm fine, just a little, sometimes I'll get like real kind of foggy. Sometimes I'm in a fair bit of pain. Like today might actually be a 2 pain pill day, which I don't have very many left. So I'm trying to not do that, but
that seems fair.
Yeah.
That sucks. I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
My medical situation was a detached retina. And for those of you who don't know, the eyeball is an actual ball in your head. And at the very back of it, there's this thin tissue called the retina that captures the light. And it can become detached from the back of your eye. And it can happen because of a severe injury to your eye. Now, normally if that happens, you've got all sorts of problems, not just with your eye, but, the surrounding area. But it can also just happen just randomly. Like literally, there's no reason for it other than now it's detached. Good news is there's no pain. It doesn't hurt when it happens. Bad news is if you don't get it taken care of like ASAP, you will go blind effectively. So I got it taken care of as soon as I could. Fortunately, my friend was able to take me out, and we the day after I realized it was going on, and they did the surgery that day. I didn't have to get knocked out for it. I was actually awake. Got a really cool light show, and it was fun. It was good. And I'm still healing. I'm still effectively blind in my left eye. It's slowly coming back. I've got a little like sliver of sight, but it's kind of clouded over because one of the side effects of the surgery is you develop a cataract. So they basically go in, make a little incision in your eyeball, put the retina back on the back of your eye, laser it to it, and then put a bubble of gas in your eye to kind of hold everything in place. And you have to lay down face down or on one of your sides, depending on what eye it is, for a week. And then you have to continue to kind of sleep on your side for the next month or so after that, 2 months or so after that.
We may need to throw like a mild body horror content warning at the beginning of this. Just between what I said and what you said, I'm like, maybe.
I can actually throw that on. Warning: the next 10 minutes is sort of nightmarish. It has to do with medical content.
Kind of gross there.
Yeah.
But
anyway. I am healing.
I have one other comment I need to make there.
Okay.
And it's that particularly at the beginning, it kind of faded a little bit, but particularly at the beginning when you're telling that story, you sounded so much like a 4th grade teacher, like slowly explaining to the kids, like, oh no, it's okay. We're just
well, I've explained this to people, and inevitably everybody asks, well, how did it happen? And it's like, there's literally, if it's going to happen to you, there's nothing you can do to prevent it from happening. It's just going to happen, and you have no idea until it does. So
basically, Frank has angered God, and he is being punished for his sins.
Hubris, my hubris. So anyway,
a little bit of avarice,
so that's
but mostly hubris.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with us. That's kind of that's why we were late with the Alan Wake episode.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're actually, not that it affects the listeners, because we're going to be putting this out on time. Well, it kind of does, because we would have probably put this out before Christmas had we
Yeah.
had you not gone into the hospital.
Yeah, we probably would have had an actual like Christmas thing next week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to do. I'm actually glad it worked out the way it is because we got to put out the Winter Exports episode, and I really like that episode.
Yeah, I really like that one.
So anyway, that is what's going on with John and I. And next time, we may actually have something unrelated to hospital stays.
Yeah.
Uh,
or we'll be dead.
I hope not. It would that's terrible. That would suck. Anyway, hey, what are you drinking there, John? What do you got sipping on?
It is a Kirkland Signature gluten-free organic fruit and vegetable pouch.
Wow. It looked like baby food, so I was just...
It functionally is, but it's like the good baby food. The kind of baby food that you're like, why'd I give that to a baby? He didn't need it. He didn't need that. He's not going to know any better. Fuck that baby.
Give him the garbage food. I don't know if we'll actually leave that in. It kind of depends on how. Kind of depends on how long this episode is. Anyway, so here we go. All right, so today we're talking about the live-action One Piece on Netflix. Before we dive into it, we're going to give a couple of statements. One, we're not going to be doing hardly any comparison with the manga or the anime. I might mention a few things towards the end of our discussion about the anime specifically, but John has not watched the anime, nor has he read the manga.
And I adamantly refuse to.
And he adamantly refuses to. I have started watching anime. I've actually watched the East Blue arc. So I've watched the stuff that the first season covers. I've watched that in the anime. But that's the extent of my viewing. I haven't read the manga. And neither of us are experts on that. So it would behoove us to go into any kind of detail about the anime or the manga, because we would be speaking out of ignorance. Now, that said, I do want to give a little background on One Piece and what it is. But keep it, this is basically two middle-aged dudes who don't have a lot of back information on it talking about it.
Yeah.
Now, this is not for people who are already fans of the manga or the anime.
Yeah.
Because you're going to know more than us.
And we will just infuriate you with our ignorance. And
this is for people who don't know a lot about it.
Yes.
So I would give you a timestamp to jump to, but we haven't gotten to that part. So
yes,
skip ahead like 5 or 6 minutes. If you don't want to listen to us talk about it. Yeah. So, like I said, this is not an exhaustive history of the manga or the anime. And there are far better people that can go over this information, who have gone over this information. But just give people a little bit of familiarity. First off, One Piece, as many anime, started off as a manga. It's written by Akira Oda, who was inspired by Akira Toriyama, who is the creator of Dragon Ball, and also one of the artists for Dragon Quest video game franchise. And
why did I never make that connection? Holy shit! Like, it is so obvious. Sorry, just like, motherfucker. Why did I not like?
So Oda was a fan of Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball stuff, and as a kid, and he also was very fascinated with Vikings and pirates and stuff. Oda first got his job with Weekly Shonen Jump when he submitted his first manga with the magazine in the early 90s. I neglected to put what year, but I think it was like 93 or 94. He was still a teenager when that happened. He also, while he was there, he studied under several well-known manga artists, including Shinobu
Mangaka. I think
Katani.
Mangaka is the proper term.
Mangaka. Yeah. I always fuck it up when I say it.
Okay, well,
I don't know why.
I want to hear you fuck it up for my own amusement.
Mangaka.
There we go. See? You got it. You're good.
He started fleshing out an idea he wrote called Romance Dawn in the mid-90s, which introduced the character Monkey D. Luffy. He expanded upon it and created One Piece, which was first published in August of 1997. The original idea was that he was going to only have it be a 5-year story arc. It's now been almost 25 years. And it's probably going to be 30 before he finishes it, because he is, according to him, he's on the last major arc of the manga.
Yeah.
So probably 3 or 4 more years and he'll have it wrapped up. But it very quickly become a weekly feature for Weekly Shonen Jump, and he's been writing it ever since. It currently has 107 volumes as of this recording, with 1,101 chapters. And like I said, he stated that he's going to be concluding the story arc, and so we should have a conclusion soon. As far as the anime, which is pretty closely based on the manga, started in 1999 and is currently in its 21st season, with each season corresponding to a story arc and having a variable number of episodes. It's produced by Toei Animation, and there's currently 1,088 episodes as of the recording of this podcast. And then finally, the live action was developed by Matt Owens and Stephen Maeda for Netflix, with Kaiji Productions, Tomorrow Studios, and Shueisha as the production companies behind it. And Owens and Maeda brought Oda in as an executive producer and have consulted with him very closely with the live action. And it's pretty apparent if you know anything about the manga and if you know anything about the anime and how the live action played out. The series has been approved for a second season, and apparently most of the scripts are finished. So they should be hopefully starting to film that soon. John and I have discussed this. So we go over in pretty deep detail. If you don't want any spoilers, then this is your chance to bow out.
Also, if you don't want any spoilers, why the hell are you listening to our podcast?
He asks that question every time I bring up spoilers, but he's got a good point. So each thing we talk about, we talk about it from the perspective of what makes most sense for that thing. Sometimes it's going to be how it relates to the genre it is. Sometimes it's going to be like just a full plot, because the plot is the central key. In this case, we're going to approach it from the characters, because the characters are really what make this what it is.
Oh, yeah.
The plot is what it is, but each character's plot is sort of interwoven with each other in such a way that you kind of need to focus on each character. And we're not going to be exhaustive. It's not going to be a full play-by-play, but
and not to invite weebs to stab me to death next time I enter the card shop, but One Piece isn't exactly a profound plot.
No,
like it's pretty straightforward. It's fairly simple. Some of the world building elements and how they affect the plot, those I can say can get a little complex there. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of like, go from this place to this place.
Yeah.
It's
a very much arrive in this place, save the day from whatever baddie's there, and then move on.
It's very much a shonen.
Yeah,
very much a shonen
which is
plot
fine.
structure.
It's a fun thing, because that's not what's most important to the story. It's the characters and the characters' background and the characters and how they interact and how they develop. So the major characters, first off, of course, Monkey D. Luffy. And the way I have my notes set up is basically I have what they want most, and then kind of a beat by beat to sort of sets them on their way to that. So Monkey D. Luffy wants to be king of the pirates. And he wants to find Gold D. Rogers' hidden treasure called the One Piece. Now, Rogers is this pirate you see at the very beginning. He gets executed, but right before he dies, he basically says, hey, you can get everything you want, everything you desire if you go out and find the One Piece. And it sets off what's called the Great Pirate Era in this world, and everybody just goes nuts. And so And so,
Well, and they also, at least from where I have seen and read, there is no explanation as to what the One Piece is.
there is not, it's alluded to that it's basically one, like all of his treasure, but he never says what his treasure is.
But I mean, it's alluded to, it's implied, but it's never outright said. And the one thing that I will say with this particular world, if they don't say it explicitly, then they are probably lying to you.
It's fair. That's fair. So as a kid, Luffy is in this little village. I can't remember the name of the little town he's in, but it's a stop off for some pirates, and a particular crew, the crew of Red Hat Shanks, visits, and it sort of makes it its base for a while. And Luffy comes to idolize Shanks because Shanks is actually a pretty cool guy, and his crew is pretty cool. And every time Shank comes into port, Luffy asks, "Hey, I want to join your crew." And finally, to try to prove that he's like brave, he tries to cut his eye. He misses and hits his cheek. And then in act of rebellion, almost not really. Basically, he finds the cask that Shanks has this thing called the devil fruit in, and decides, "Fuck it, I'm going to eat this."
Yeah.
Even though it apparently tasted terrible. And what the devil fruits are these magical fruits that exist in this world, and each one conveys a different power onto the person who consumes it. The devil fruit that Luffy ate was called the gum fruit, and it basically made him a rubber person. So he can.
The other important fact with the devil fruit is that it makes the sea literally hate you.
Yes, actually have that. The trade-off is he can't swim and he's weak in the ocean.
But the thing that I find the coolest, because it's in at least the way I read it, the couple of times that you see Luffy fall into the sea there, it's not just, oh, he can't swim, or like he's weak there. It's like he falls in and it, like, you can like watch. It's like and he just can't do anything. Like he's just like he literally cannot swim. Like he couldn't get like looking, they had it like his arms couldn't get purchase in the water. Like it was like the physics of how swimming works just completely failed on him because the sea hates these devil fruit.
Yeah. So he's got these powers, but this trade-off is in a world that is predominantly ocean. He can't exist in the ocean itself. Shortly after the consumption of the devil's fruit, some raiders attack the village. One of them grabs Luffy and takes him out to sea, and Shanks saves Luffy from both the raider and from a giant sea monster. The trade-off, though, is Shanks loses his arm. And Shanks and the crew decide to leave, and Shanks explains to Luffy, like we're not coming back. But he gives him his straw hat and says, "Next time you see me, give me the hat back.
Yeah, I want this back.
You go after your dreams and become a pirate, and when you see me next, give me the hat back." Decades go by, and Luffy takes to the sea in a small boat, which slowly sinks. In order to save himself, he hides in a barrel. Yeah. And he's rescued by the pirate captain Alvida. And, well, he's not rescued by her. Yeah. He's inadvertently picked up by her men. And that's where he meets and befriends Kobe, who he helps rescue from Alvida, she's the most feared pirate on the sea.
At least that's what she claims.
She murders some folks.
I mean, but murders some folks doesn't exactly have the same like weight of terror as it does like in other settings.
No,
know.
Luffy fights Alvida, and both him and Kobe escape off the ship and head to Shell's item, where Luffy meets the other members of his crew.
Yeah. This is also a point that I've realized that I think is kind of hilarious, that regardless of whether how good a pirate he is, and depending, like towards the end, he's starting to be a pretty decent pirate. Luffy is a god awful sailor.
Oh yeah,
he
has
really
no clue.
Bad.
He's no clue. Kobe, who is a little bit better of a sailor than Luffy is, explains to Luffy that he wants to be a Marine, and Kobe's kind of the next kind of major character.
Yeah.
He wants to help the weak and innocent from those that would hurt and take advantage of them. He was captured by Alvida and forced to be her cabin boy and clean up the deck after her murders and executions and paint her toenails and basically just kind of a whipping boy. But he confesses. Sorry,
I do have to say that I love the first image we get of her is seeing the big boat, and it's just got a giant heart on the sail, and then when you actually like meet her, she's just like she's just murdering people.
Yeah, that's one thing I like, how the pirates are very themed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Kobe confesses to Luffy that he's always wanted to be a Marine. He's always wanted to help protect the innocents. He has an admiration for the Marines, and he detests pirates. When they actually get to Shell's Island, to the base, to Shell's Town, he unfortunately discovers that there are bad Marines too. Case in point, Helmeppo and a bunch of the Marines that follow him. He decides to still join the Marines after everything that happens on Shell's Town. It's in spite of what he witnesses there. But at Shell's Town, the reason Luffy decides to go there is because he figures there might be a map to the Grand Line, which the One Piece is thought to be somewhere on the Grand Line, which is this line, basically kind of the equator that divides the world in quarters with the Red Line. While trying to sneak into the base, he encounters Roronoa Zoro. And Roronoa Zoro is a swordsman. He's a bounty hunter, a pirate bounty hunter.
Yeah.
And he wants to be the greatest swordsman who ever lived, which is a promise he made to his childhood friend, Kuina.
Yeah.
He carries 3 swords around, 2 black katanas and 1 white katana, which happened to be Kuina's. He met Kuina when he was training in a dojo, and she was the only one who could beat him. She was the only other person at the dojo who was better than him. They basically made kind of a vow. He made a promise to her that he would best her and become the greatest swordsman. And she dies in an accident, and so this vow becomes sort of very somber for him, and he took her sword in honor of that. And the first time you see him, he actually fights a member of the Baroque Works, which is a mysterious organization of swordsmen, and defeats him. And he's in Shell's Town to turn in the bounty of the swordsman that he defeated, the Baroque Works guy that he cut in half. While he's drinking in the bar at Shell's Island, in Shell's Town, Helmeppo, who is the son of Axe Hand Morgan, knocks a plate of rice balls down on the ground and threatens a young girl who's holding them. Zoro kicks the shit out of Helmeppo and several of his Marines, and then turns the bounty in and is punished for beating up Morgan's son by being crucified in the yard. Helmeppo steals his swords, and Luffy frees him, and Zoro goes and gets his sword back and fights Morgan with Luffy and Nami.
No.
Nami is a young woman who is a thief, essentially.
No.
She's also a navigator, and she also wants to create a map of the world. She's been fascinated with maps since she was a little girl.
Yeah. They also in the design, and I know it's pretty obvious there, but they did a really good job of having her distinctly look like the manga and the anime versions, but having her be very desexualized, which is I was quite impressed with, and I really like her design, because it's clearly Nami from the things there, but it's not just like, that ridiculous I'm gonna snap my back over sexualized thing that happens in a lot of anime and manga.
Yeah, they really kind of pull back from the over sexualization. of the character. As a young girl, Nami would steal in the village. One of the things she stole was a big atlas of maps from a local shop. Her mom made her return it, and they worked out a deal with the constable where she can maybe do chores and stuff to get the map. But right shortly after that, the Arlong pirates, and we'll talk a little bit more about Arlong in detail in a little bit, but Arlong and his pirates are fishmen, and they attack the village, and Nami's mom. One thing to bear in mind: Nami and her sister Nojiko are adopted, but Nami's mom, Belle Marie, or Belle Mare, hide Nami and her sister when the pirates attack underneath the house. So Arlong will only ask for the berry, which is the currency they use in this world, for one person. He figures out that there's 3 people there, and he takes the berry in exchange for Belmare's life. I know I'm not doing a lot of comparison, but I will say in the anime, that scene is so much darker than it is in the live action. That was the first time watching through the anime where I was like, holy shit, this is really, really bleak. But anyway.
Yeah, it kind of seems like they were aiming for like a kind of PG-13.
It's kind of the same way. It is. I mean, it's not explicit. Well, it is explicit, but it's not explicit because it's done in silhouette in the anime. But that's the one moment in the anime, I think, where they have scenes that correspond in the live action, where it feels less than in more. Like a lot of the other scenes that correspond in the anime, like Zeph and Sanji on the island and stuff.
Yeah.
The live action feels more. The same with like Shanks rescuing Luffy from the sea monsters and like all of that. So that's the one where it feels like they pulled back a little bit. But
yeah.
Anyway, Nami goes to Arlong and basically offers to be his cartographer and slave. She makes a deal with him. If she's able to get 100 million berries, then he has to let the village go. But until then, he basically collects tribute from them, like yearly or quarterly. I wasn't entirely sure how often he did it. I got the impression it was often enough to make it unbearable for the people there. While she continued to be his cartographer and draw his maps, she would take advantage. He eventually kind of made her a full crew member. She's one of the only humans who's a crew member of his pirates. And she took advantage of that to be able to slip in and steal stuff and steal treasures to meet that quota. When we first see her, she's stolen a boat from some of Buggy's pirates. Buggy the Clown is a pirate captain. Fucking and she sailed to Shell's Island because she's also heard that the map of to the Grand Line is there. And she ends up meeting up with Luffy in the base, and they go and steal the map together. They steal the safe the map's in, and then they all team up with Zoro and have a big fight with Axe Hand Morgan. That's basically the first episode, kind of the first story arc, first beat.
Yeah.
They go on to meet Buggy the Clown, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The next Straw Hat is Usopp. And Usopp is a notorious liar. Literally, it's the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
And his whole story arc, that's kind of what it is. He lives in a place called Syrup Village. When he was younger, his mom was sick. Oh, and his father left to be a pirate. He's actually one of Shanks' pirates named Yasopp. So you see him a few times in Luffy's flashbacks and at the end, but
yeah.
Anyway.
But one of the things that was interesting is when the casting first came out, Usopp was one of the characters that there was kind of an uproar amongst some of the fans because like they'd changed his race there. Yeah. But the thing is, and there's a couple of characters that are that way in the show, but Oda had been brought in and was like a full part of all of the casting for this. And his response, the creator of it, was like, yeah, he's always been like it's always been the case. Like, like with Luffy being Brazilian, and
Yeah.
Usopp being black, and the whole
It's one of those scenes where if you watch the anime, Usopp comes as biracial. He kind of
yeah
he
yeah
reads as biracial in the anime. But if you actually see some of the flashbacks with his mom, which doesn't happen till a little later on, they don't happen quite when they do in the series.
mm-hmm.
And the flashbacks with his dad is very white in the anime, and his mom is too. And it's one of those things where it's like something doesn't connect here because he does read as biracial.
Yeah, I mean, well, he has a lot of like the hair. There's a lot of you're coded, like he's fairly clearly coded black.
I think it works. I think it works well. Like I think it's great.
Yeah. No, I think like I think if there, one of the things that this show does really well, like one, and I know this is like later on there, the casting is immaculate, and
we'll delve in more into it
there.
But anyway, Usopp is a liar, and he's been a liar his entire life. Part of it is because he wants to be he wants to be a pirate. He wants to be a pirate captain. He has this sort of dream of joining his father.
I'd almost say, at least from what I've seen, I'd say he's more of just the he's a storyteller. He's like the story. He's it's tall tales, the tall tales thing, more than like explicitly a liar, particularly when he's dealing with his one friend.
Yeah. When he's talking to Kaya, I agree. It's very much when he's running through the village saying the pirates are coming.
Yeah.
I think that is very explicitly, he's just lying. But it's because it's something he apparently does on a daily or a weekly basis.
Yeah.
To the consternation of everyone in the town. But he works at this local shipyard, which is owned by a young woman named Kaya. It was her family's shipyard. She's close to his age. She's also kind of sick, which is due to her butler and his two crew members.
Yeah.
Claudor and Sham and Bucci. But Usopp goes to her and he makes up these wild stories to her about his adventures as a pirate captain. He meets Luffy after Luffy sees the Going Merry, the ship that he's working on, and becomes like, yes, this is the boat that I want.
Yeah.
He takes her to meet Kaya, and Kaya invites the Straw Hats and Usopp to stay the night, which is serendipitous because it sort of disrupts Claudor and his crew's plans to murder Kaya and take over
on her 18th birthday, so they're able to claim your fortune.
Yeah. Claudor is able to murder her lawyer, Mary.
Yeah.
But they are thwarted by the Straw Hats. They discover what's going on. Nami and Usopp sort of rescue Kaya, and Luffy ends up defeating Claudor. So next they travel to the Baratier, which is a large restaurant ship.
Yeah, I also think it's the longest arc in this show. Like,
it's the same amount of time as the Serp Village arc, because both of those are 2 episodes.
Oh, okay.
So basically, we kind of skipped it. So basically, the first episode is the Shells Town arc. The next episode is Buggy the Clown. And then Baratier's 2 episodes, and then Cocoa Village is 2 episodes and ends it. But they get to Baratier, and there they meet Sanji. Sanji he's a young chef, and he wants to find the All Blue, which is something he's been obsessed with since he was a little boy, and it's basically the place where all of the seas meet. and there's fishes and spices and everything there that nobody's ever seen before. So basically, every fish from every ocean you can find there.
And ones that no one has ever seen.
Yes, exactly. Sanji is a cook's helper on a large passenger ship when Red Leg Zeph and the cook pirates attack them during a storm. Zeph confronts Sanji after Sanji threatens to kill him for trying to season his sauce, and they're both kind of caught off guard. Oh, Zeph's caught off guard when Sanji mentions the all blue. During this encounter, both ships capsize, sink, and Zeph and Sanji are the only survivors. They are stuck on an island, which is fucking horrifying. That island gives me nightmares that they're stuck on, because it's basically like a mushroom shape that comes out of the ocean with like jagged rocks all around. I want to know how they got off of that damn thing. What boat like sailed close enough to like allow them to get down off of it? But
yeah, God, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful scene.
But Zeph has two bags, a small bag and a large bag, and he gives Sanji the small bag because Sanji's like 10. Tells him, "This is your food. Go to the other side of the island. Watch for ships. Don't bother me until you've found a ship." They go for like 2 months. Finally, Sanji runs out of food, and out of desperation, he goes over to the other side of the island, basically saying like, if Zeph doesn't give me food, I'm going to kill him or die trying. And when he gets there, he sees that Zeph's bag's still full. So he's like, why do you still have so much food? And then he discovers that the bag is full of treasure and not actually food. And also discovers that Zeph has slowly been eating chunks of his leg to survive.
To stay alive, yeah.
He had actually given Sanji all the food that he had.
Yeah.
And that's one of those moments. There's two moments in this that really, well, there's three moments. The first one's actually in Usopp, the very end of that first Syrup Town episode, where Usopp is sitting on the ground and he's like, why won't anyone believe me? The pirates are here. And that was like, oh, that's a punch to the gut. The next one is when Sanji asks Zeph, he's like, why would you do this for a stranger? You don't hardly even know me. And Zeph goes, because you're the first person I know that who also wants to find the all blue. Yeah.
And believes in the all blue.
And the third one I'll talk about when we talk about Arlong. Because it has to do with that last story arc.
Yeah, but that trust us, that particular scene there is just it's fantastic. It's well acted. The guy who plays can't remember his name. Old Zeph. Yeah, the guy who plays Zeph. He is just fantastic.
Craig Fairbrass is the name of the actor who plays Zeph.
Yeah, and he has this frankly just amazing ability to both be gruff and in your face, and also empathic and caring.
Yeah,
like at the same time. That is just it's an astounding bit of acting. Frankly,
he's like I say, we're gonna talk about the cast and stuff quite a bit.
Oh here. yeah, no, it's just like that one. I just had to get out while I was thinking about it.
Yeah, no, I get it. So anyway, once they're off the island, and it doesn't show them how they get off the island, Zeph opens up the Baratier, which is a giant ship. Now, the Straw Hats discover the Baratier because Luffy leads them there with his keen sense of smell for food. After being attacked by Vice Admiral Garp, who we'll talk about in detail in a minute,
and they'll need to run into fog.
And they in order to escape him, they run into the fog. And that's another thing with the anime. Apparently, well, it's very apparently anime. Like Luffy sniffs out food. That's the only way he can navigate is if there's food involved, basically.
He is such a terrible sailor. Like I love it. Yeah. I love how bad a sailor he is.
Yeah, it's great. And so Sanji, they meet Sanji, and they run out this massive tab, and Zeph basically forces Luffy to work in the kitchen because he doesn't have any money. He gives him an IOU.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite moments, like, who is
He's like,
Monkey D.
come
Luffy?
come back and talk to the chef. Come back and talk to the chef.
So, but while they're in the kitchen, he just kind of discovers what kind of person Sanji is, because this sailor pounds on the door and is basically starving. He's washed up on Baratie, and Sanji cooks a meal and feeds it to him. That's when Luffy decides this is the person we need on our crew for our cook.
Mm-hmm.
But Garp, Vice Admiral Garp, we're going to just come out and say it, is Luffy's grandfather.
Yeah, they kind of tease that out. They tease that out for a long time, like it's a big secret to a lot of the.
Well, I had no idea when I watched the anime the first time. I was like, holy shit, that's fun. If I had watched the anime, I would have known, but watching the live action, I was like, oh, yeah. I was sort of surprised.
You're like, oh, yeah, no. I'm basically they did a good job of doing that.
Yeah, revealing it.
The reveal was really solid.
But Vice Admiral Garp, he shows up in the second episode. He ends up going to Shellstown because Axan Morgan basically reports that, hey, I lost the map to the Grand Line that I had. We were invaded by this vicious crew of pirates, and Garp hears the description and knows that it's Luffy. And so while he's there, he gets Kobe and Helmeppo, who is basically kind of forced to join up the Marine, actually become an actual Marine instead of just a spoiled brat with his own little group of Marines. And because Helmeppo's Axan's son who causes trouble. And Garp decides to go after Luffy. They're kind of following him through the first several episodes till they get to Syrup Village, and then they're able to track him down because they see them on the Going Merry. And Garp attacks, and Luffy uses his Rubberman powers to bounce the cannonball that Garp picks up and throws at them with the velocity of a cannon back and actually take out one of their sails.
I think that's the first. Like Garp's reaction. I think is the first clue. Is the first kind of big clue that there's definitely something more than just you're a pirate and they need to track you down. Yeah. With Luffy,
he becomes obsessed, and it becomes very weird. And the next thing he does is he contacts one of the warlords of the sea named Dracula Mihawk to go and hunt Luffy down.
Great character.
And very quickly, even though I have notes for him later, Mihawk shows up at Baratie and discovers Luffy. Like discovers the Straw Hats, and as soon as Zoro finds out who he is, he challenges him to a duel. And Mihawk, who has this giant ass sword that he uses to literally sink a boat, like when he's introduced.
It's the size of a fucking crucifix.
Yeah.
Like it is like you could crucify someone on this son of a bitch.
Yeah. And in the notes, I actually have his name of his sword. Yoru. The name of the giant sword, Yoru. Mihawk's one of the 7 warlords of the sea, and we're actually going to take care of him right now. And he fights Zoro, and he takes this tiny little, like what looks like a crucifix that's hanging from his thing. So he's got like the size of a cross on his back. That's his main sword that he literally uses to sink a ship. And he pulls the little crucifix off, and poof, it's like this tiny little sword. And Zoro's
it's like a little knife. It is sharper than a letter opener, but it's like steak knife size blade.
Yeah.
Like
he literally says, when Zoro's like, why don't you fight me with your big blade? And the quote is, you don't bring a cannon to a gunfight. But he defeats him with that little sword very handedly.
Yeah, but at the end, Zoro earns enough of his respect, where he's like, you know what? If you're gonna die, you know what? You've proven that you deserve to die with the named sword, the big one.
Mm-hmm. So he pulls Yoru out and he slices Zoro down with it, and then he's like, I'm not going to kill you here. Come find me when you're stronger. And So that's kind of got a nice.
Yeah, that was I liked that. I liked that. I mean, it's another one of those like real common shonen tropes. The
Yeah.
those there, but I thought it was handled well. And I really like I said, and I really liked that there was already a relationship sort of building between those two characters,
Yeah.
even though it was just the one fight.
Mihawk, after defeating Zoro, lets Luffy go and basically goes back to Garp. I let him go and tells Garp, "Hey, I let him go." And Garp's like, "Why did you? I told you to bring him back." And he's like, "Yeah, I thought it'd be more interesting just to let him go." Basically,
Yeah.
Garp arrives at Baratier after Luffy and crew leave, and while he's there, Zeph basically says, "Look, our generation of pirates and Marines are done. We need to let the next group. We need to let next generation take over."
Yeah.
And Garp kind of dismisses him about it and follows Luffy to Cocoa Village, which is the last place the story goes. And while at Cocoa Village, he basically fights Luffy and defeats him. But he does it in a sense to test Luffy to see if he's actually ready to go to the Grand Line and be a pirate. And that's what the entire thing with Garp is he's out there basically trying to test Luffy.
Yeah, it's like, I trained you to be a Marine. Clearly you don't want to be. Like, clearly you don't want to be. So prove to me that you're going to be a good pirate.
Yeah. And
which I really liked. Like, I thought that was really cool, particularly once he kind of gave up.
Yeah.
Towards the end there.
And so, and after that, like one of the last scenes of not the last scene, but one of the last scenes is Garp's like, all right, he takes Kobe and Helmeppo and he says, "You guys want to be, you want me to train you to be Marines? Or your training starts tomorrow."
And Colby has a boner so big his brain dies.
Yeah. And but it's this, but this is the point where Garp kind of accepts what Zeph says about the next generation taking over.
New guard.
Yeah. A few of the side characters. So those are the main characters. Those are the main ones. The 5 Straw Hat Pirates, and then Kobe and Garp. There are obviously other characters we mentioned. Axehand Morgan, he's the Marine commander of Shells Island.
Yeah.
He's a vain and self-centered blowhard. And he's not a really good commander. He lies to Garp about how the map was stolen.
He is not good at his job.
No. And he is considerably toned down in the live action than he is in the anime.
I would imagine.
Fun fact, because one thing that comes up, and we'll be talking about Claudor here in a second, whose real name is Captain Kuro of the Black Cat Pirates, but Axehand Morgan defeats Captain Kuro of the Black Cat Pirates, which is how Claudor is able to hide as a butler to Kaya's family. Axehand Morgan's kids, Helmeppo, as we've mentioned, when we meet him, he's a very conceited and spoiled brat.
Well, it takes him a while to get past that.
It is, but
I think a lot of that is from just Kobe.
Yeah. Well, he watches and sees what Kobe does, and kind of begins to recognize that Kobe's actually what a Marine should be. He's actually a decent person.
Yeah. Well, and also he is getting the praise and the attention that I want from my dad, from Garp.
Yeah. But
maybe I can get some of that.
I think more importantly, he becomes friends with Kobe.
Oh yeah. No, I just think I do think that there is some distinct daddy issues, issues there with
there absolutely
him
is.
with the Garp thing there. But yeah, no, I think you're definitely. I think him befriending Kobe, but I think he befriended Kobe because Kobe was getting all the attention from.
Yeah. It was one of convenience, friendship of convenience more than it was.
Yeah, and it's kind of become more like an actual friendship there.
Yeah. One of the characters we sort of skipped over that I actually kind of want to go into a little bit more detail about, one of the side characters, Buggy the Clown.
Oh, I hate him so much.
So Buggy the Clown is Captain Buggy of the Buggy Pirates, which are a circus-themed pirate crew. He wants a map of the Grand Line as well, and he captures the Straw Hats right after Shellstown, right after they get the map.
Yeah.
He's also one of those individuals with devil fruit powers. Now, his fruit was the Chop Chop fruit, which allows him to divide his body up into smaller parts. He's taken over this village and just destroyed it, called Orange Village. He's basically imprisoned all of the residents of the village, shackled them to their seats in this big circus tent, and forces them to basically watch his shows and applaud them. And if they don't, he punishes them really, really terribly.
I think we went to school with a couple of Bucky the Clowns.
We might have. Yeah. Yes, I think we might have. He is obsessed with putting on shows and performances. He's ultimately defeated by the Straw Hats when Luffy thinks to basically trap his different body parts, because he can divide his body up into smaller
kicks
parts.
Him into a bunch of chests
and like casks and stuff.
Yeah,
and that's how they're able to escape and sort of free the village from him. He flies off the handle and gets violent whenever he doesn't get the reception or response that he wants. But he's also beholden to the Arlong pirates. And as soon as he basically extricates himself from the various chests and stuff, one of Arlong's crew, a fishman named Kurobi, shows up and takes him back to Arlong by force, like literally knocks his ass out and like drags him back to Arlong.
Yeah.
And Arlong wants to know where the map of the Grand Line is. And of course, Buggy tells him, and you find out that one of the reasons Buggy knows is because Buggy left his ear in the hat band of Luffy, Luffy's hat band to his hat.
Yeah.
So he's been able to hear everything that's going on.
I had one point about Buggy.
All right.
That I want to make there.
Okay.
Like the Chop Chop fruit isn't it's not the best of the devil fruits. I was actually reading up on a bunch of them.
Yeah.
It's not the best of the devil fruit. It's not the most powerful there, but it's kind of one of those ones sort of like Luffy's, where there's a lot more potential there than is being used. And Buggy and that particular power is completely wasted on this lunatic clown.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off.
Yeah. At least Luffy uses his abilities. I mean, he's still discovering his uses for him, but at least he uses his abilities to the best of his abilities. Yeah.
And he's willing to try and get like creative with it and do things there. Like the Chop Chop fruit's not, like I said, it's not holy shit powerful, but that's the kind of one that you could get as a writer really creative with, and it's just kind of wasted on this idiot.
Yeah. Now I don't know how it plays out in the manga in the anime.
As I understand it, he is just as dumb and just as forgettable.
Yeah, well, he is. Except he turns back up in the anime later. I mean, he does in this live action, because there's a scene with him and Alvida at a bar chatting. Clawdor. Clawdor is another pirate. He was originally Captain Kuro of the Black Cat Pirates. He's decided he wants to essentially go legit by stealing the inheritance of a young girl whose parents he poisoned. He's also got two of his crewmates,
like you do,
Bucci and Sham, who she's turning 18, so he's finally going to do the deed. Luffy and the Straw Hats basically completely disrupt his plans. Luffy by drinking the soup that they were going to feed Kaya to kill her.
Yeah,
he does have preternatural speed. Clawdor does. It's not from a devil's fruit.
Yeah, it's not explained. As I had my my brother at one point go a little bit into some of the other non-devil fruit power systems in there, but they don't show up for
there's
they don't show up for a while.
They are hinted at with like Garps, throwing the cannonball.
Yeah, Garp throwing the cannonball.
Shanks,
the red Shanks when he just like looks at the ship and it explodes or whatever it was that happened.
Yeah, Mihawk.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I actually looked at Claudor's power, and it's never explicitly said which one of those. It's not a devil's fruit, but it never explicitly says which one of those powers his is anywhere. Because another thing is he never shows back up. Some of the others, like Buggy the Clown and Alvida and stuff, show back up. He's never shown up since his story arc in either the manga or the anime.
I'm kind of okay with that. I did not particularly care for him.
He worked well for what he was.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but I think he was pretty distinctly one note.
Yeah, very much so. Of course, there's Kaya. She's the young daughter and best friends with Usopp, and but very much in love.
Yeah, they are so in love. It's like adorable and disgusting, and you want to just like choke them both.
Yeah,
it's like just And
we've already talked pretty broadly about both Red Leg Zeph and Dracula Mihawk, so that leaves us with one last character to really discuss, and it's sort of bring Nami's in the show to kind of a close.
Yeah, he's sort of the villain of this first season.
Yeah,
because it's all kind of it's all sort of by his design, sort of.
Yeah, which is Arlong. Arlong, who is a fishman. Like I said earlier, the fishmen are a race of fish people. He's the captain of the Arlong pirates, and according to him, he runs the East Blue, and all the other pirates presumably play homage to him. He's a fish supremacist, which basically
and pretty aggressively so.
Yeah, basically like all humans and all of the other races are inferior to fishmen.
Yeah,
he believes that the fishmen should be the rightful rulers of the world, and his goal is he wants to put a map of the entire world, so he can basically attack every village and marine base there is.
Oh, and know where every pirate sanctuary is, every marine base.
Yeah,
and
he basically wants the map to bring everybody under hill.
Yeah, I do like how they showed how kind of profoundly powerful Nami is in this world.
Yeah,
like just the fact that she can make the maps, like she's quite powerful.
Yeah, she has a ability that not a lot of people have, but everybody kind of needs. It's because of her ability that Arlong comes to trust her. He uses Buggy to track down the Straw Hats to Baratier, where him and his two fishermen, I'm going to say first mate and other guy, Kurobi and Chu, they call out Luffy and attempt to get the map back. And Luffy fights him, kind of gets his ass kicked, but right after the fight, Nami rejoins Arlong and basically shows the other Straw Hats like, hey, I actually belong to these pirates. She's doing it really, one, so she can finish paying off the fee for her village to set Koko Village free, and two, basically to rescue Luffy and the other Straw Hats so they don't get murdered by Arlong. It's kind of a way to deflect it.
So you kind of learn, and it's sort of been clear, sort of like been implied and clear there, but she's being kind of a dick.
Yeah.
In order, like as kind of like a defense and as a means of maximizing her what she can pull off, what she can do.
Yeah. Which makes sense. So Arlong also has the Marines in that region that he kind of controls, where Koko Village and Arlong Park are, in his pocket.
Some really stupid Marines. Yeah,
they show up. He pays them a fine, but they're also kind of intimidated and scared of him. Nami finally has
ballsy enough to ask for more money.
Yeah,
ask for a bigger bribe.
Well, I think it's because they think they can get the entire Marine. You know, they're confident they could get reinforcements. Probably, but Nami, who's been sort of hiding the money in a chest buried by her mother's grave, She basically goes to Arlong after he sends her to get tribute from the village, and says, "Hey, I have the money to rescue Coco Village, and I'll give it to you." And Arlong's like, "Okay, let's talk." And then Arlong tips the Marines off that the money's there, and they show up and confiscate it. And that's when Luffy and the other Straw Hats agree to basically help Nami, because they follow her. She leaves, they follow her, and at that point, it's actually a really beautiful recreation of both the anime and the manga, of that scene where she's sitting in the background with Luffy's hat when she says, "Will you help me?" And he says, "Of course we will," and puts the hat on her. And it's in the foreground, you see Zoro, Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp.
Oh, that one of my favorite little bits is when she sees them and she runs over and gives Zoro and Usopp a giant hug, as Sanji's just like, "Oh,
yeah,
well, fuck you too." Then.
In the anime and the manga, Sanji's this womanizer, or would want to be womanizer.
Yeah, he's the pervert trope. The one from there. So it I think that works better, but it's still pretty clear that this is a trope from a different time.
If you don't know anime very well, I don't feel like it feels too weird. Like it's played comedically, and he's not over the top in the live action.
He just comes off a little fedora madam,
but not so obnoxiously so, I don't think.
Like you're not like worried you're not worried about what he might do.
But Arlong, he comes to an end when Luffy and the Straw Hats basically attack Arlong Park, which is his base on the island. And Luffy destroys the building plus all of the maps that he's collected over the years that Nami has put together. The only one they sort of rescue is the map to the Grand Line, and they all kind of make an oath with their foot on the barrel, stating what they want. And that is the story of One Piece. And as you were saying earlier,
season 1.
The casting for this is phenomenal. There's a lot of the actors, especially the minor characters and stuff. There are a lot of South African actors in this.
If anyone has was it the actor who plays Luffy? He's in another show on Netflix called The Imperfects, which I watched. And I quite liked there. But the thing that's cool about The Imperfects is that he literally learned English. Like he's from Mexico. He learned English for the role in The Imperfects, where it's an interesting show. It's basically that's one that might actually be fun to do eventually. But
I'll have to look into it. By the way, Luffy's actor is Iñaki Godoy.
Yeah, love the dude. He's reached the point as an actor where if he's in it, I'm at least passively interested.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, I'll give it a go. Like, I'm willing to give it a go if he's in there.
Yeah, I can see that.
The other thing that I want to say about the casting stuff, and also just like some of the other things that they did there, with like, say, with Arlo and with some of the fish people. Arlong, like Arlong is another one that's very clearly coded black. Like he is a big, powerful black man. The fact that he is a sawtooth shark is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
But they didn't fall, and with a lot of these characters there, they didn't fall into the trap of having them become stereotypes or caricatures, and some of that's just because the casting itself is so diverse and so great, but also just like they're all just like so well done, that just
it's
just
well
very
written,
well handled,
and it's well acted, and I think part of that comes from the adaptation.
I also realized, because one of the things that honestly going up towards it, I was a little worried about, because racial sensitivity is not something that anime is very well known for.
No.
Oda can be better than others, but it's not exactly something that people think of.
Just another note. As far as the other actors, Emily Rudd as Nami, she's been in a number of Netflix series, movies and stuff. Fear Street, she's actually pretty good in those. McKenyu, who is Roronoa Zoro, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. McKenyu is Roronoa Zoro. Jacob Romero, who we talked a little bit about earlier, as Usopp. Taz Skylar, who apparently learned to cook.
That's actually really cool. I have a lot more.
He also learned to do the fight sequences, the kicks and stuff too, for his character.
That's pretty fantastic.
From everything I've read about this guy, just like if I was a woman, I'd be swooning over the dude, or if I was attracted to men, I'd be swooning over the dude because he's like the actual actor's just like ugh.
Yes.
Morgan Davies
you got one of those platonic crushes.
Yeah, Morgan Davies as Kobe, Aiden Scott as Helmeppo.
Mm-hmm.
The two big ones, Vincent Reagan as Garp and Craig Fairbrass as Zeph, are and then McKinley Belcher III as Arlong, who is a big, powerful black man.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Part of the way that they did that is I looked through. There's a bunch of these a bunch of the fishmen visually are all over the place with what they would be race wise. There's one who's who looks like looks like the whitest dude, but also still a fish.
Yeah.
So there isn't. So you don't get that awkward, because I've started to get really kind of annoyed with the awkward metaphor.
Yeah.
And it happens with race, it happens with sexual orientation, being trans, whatever, where it's like, oh, here's this metaphor here. And it's like, so are you trying to say that all black people are fish? Is that what you're going for? Because that's kind of what I'm taking away from this. But by having all of that mixed up, by having all the fishmen all be radically unique, very unique, and look like that, it doesn't feel that. And it was very well, very deftly handled with source material that, I mean, we're still in the arcs from the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah.
That was not known for doing this well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
very much so. Well, let's touch on themes a little bit, and then give our closing thoughts. Obviously, friendships, doing what's right by our friends. That's the one thing that Luffy's incredibly loyal to his friends. Once he considers you a friend, you are his friend, and that's one of those scenes where even though Nami betrays the group, he's willing to go. He wants to go after her because she's still our friend. And even though both Sanji and Usopp are she literally belongs to another pirate crew, and she sold us out for the map.
Oh, there's one tiny thing that I just need to say, and then move on there. One of the things, the attention to detail that they had, that I was really kind of blown away with, is after that scene. After that episode where they get hit with the cannonballs and there's the big chunks taken out of the ship, those are still there even at the very end.
Yeah,
they're not and it's they haven't had time to have them fixed.
Yeah,
and so they're not fixed. And I was just it's a little thing, but it made, I'm like, that's well handled. They
That's
done
important.
good. You done good.
Yeah. The other thing is being true to yourself, being going after your dreams.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest thing is Luffy gets most upset by the individuals who sort of given up, or who are kind of betraying their dreams. One of the big key moments for me is the scene with Zoro fighting Mihawk. Nami's like, why didn't you stop him? And Luffy's like, well, it's his dream to be the best swordsman. I didn't think he could lose.
I really loved the amount of times they had Nami going like, fucking boys, man, just like, just idiots. You just,
yeah.
Like,
one of the things I really love, because it makes fun of the anime trope of calling out your finishing move or calling out your special moves.
Yeah.
Was when, the first time Luffy's like gum pistol and does this whole stretchy arm thing at Morgan.
Yeah.
And Zoro's like, what was that? And he's like, all the great heroes call out their finishing moves. And he's like, no, they don't. And then at the end, in the last episode, it's a nice bookend. Sanji does it. He calls out his finish. I can't remember what it is, but he called out his finishing move.
Yeah.
And Zoro's like, you're gonna fit right in.
Yeah, like watching Zoro and Luffy and their friendship, because it's basically just Luffy slowly grinding away at Zoro until Zoro just like gives up. He's like, fine, we're friends now.
Yeah, he's like, God. Okay, I'm part of your crew.
Like, fuck.
The last major theme that and keep in mind, these are just the stuff that we gather off the surface. We're not literary analysts. We're not doing like deep dives into this.
And also, I'm not trying to be a literary analyst.
No, neither am I. This is just the stuff that we catch while we watch it. But the last thing is doing what's right, regardless of the labels that you're given to by society. Like Luffy's a pirate, and pirates are seen as an anathema and a blight on this world. But he wants to help protect people. He wants to save people that are innocent and not, he wants to make sure the innocent are safe.
I mean, you can see why Garp would be so frustrated with Luffy, because he would make a fucking amazing Marine.
But at the same time, Luffy also got that attitude not just from his grandfather, but from Redhead Shanks.
Oh yeah.
Because Redhead Shanks,
absolutely.
And a lot of this stuff, and it comes back in some of the scenes with flashback scenes with Redhead Shanks, where the Marauders show up the first time and they make the big mess, and Shanks is sweeping it up, and Luffy's like, "Why didn't you, murder those guys?" And Shanks is like, "He just broke some bottles. He insulted me. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't care. Like, only harm he did is he broke some glass and cleaned the mess up. It's not a big deal." It doesn't come to a point where Shanks feels like he needs to use violence until the Marauders actually harm one of Shanks' friends, Luffy and the barmaid. At that point, he's like, "All right, now we have to do violence. Now we have to fight these guys because they're hurting our friends.
Yeah,
they're hurting people who are innocent." Fun fact.
Like I said, I was
going to say fun fact in that scene, because the scene plays out similarly in the anime, but Lucky Roo, the dude with the green outfit with the likes to eat, he's also in the anime, he's the first person you see kill somebody. And he doesn't, not quite the same way, but in the anime, he like walks up and takes his gun and goes and just shoots the dude in the head. And so it's close, but not quite. But they actually kept that dynamic in the live action, which I thought was fun. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted your point, your comment.
Garp and Shanks, clearly were the two big things to shape
Luffy. Yeah.
Luffy there. And I brought it up just like the Garp's thing there, like, cause like why Garp pushes him so hard. Cause there's even like, mean, there's even like with like GURPS reminds me a fair bit of my own grandpa.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in a good way. But he but there's that drive that move forward, and there's something more than just like, oh no, you're my you're my grandson, you have to do what I say, whatever.
Yeah.
Is like there is a distinct you don't even understand how good a Marine you could be, like how good a Marine you could be, and all this silly pirate shit that you want to do, you could do legit as a Marine here, pushing it there, and then Luffy kind of like breaking away from it.
Yeah. Well, I think, and this is one of those points, and it's another really nice little scene with Kobe and Garp when, Garp sort of asks Kobe, kind of conveys his frustration towards Kobe about Luffy. And Kobe's like, Luffy knows what he is, exactly what he is. And Garp goes, what's that? And he's like, he's a pirate. Like, Luffy's always known he's a pirate, and Kobe kind of conveys that to Garp. Like, Luffy's always been a pirate. Like, he's always going to be a pirate. And I think that's the one thing that the show does well, in the anime and probably the manga as well. They do very well, is it shows that none of these groups are black and white. Are there more bad pirates than good pirates? Probably, but
most likely.
But at the same time, there are tons of bad Marines. You look at Axe Hand Morgan, and the captain that Arlong's got in his pocket. Like, well, I mean,
also you look at like hell, even Garp from a couple of different perspectives. Like from Luffy's perspective, he's not all that bad. From the Watcher's perspective, he's actually pretty good. But the fact that he just kind of decides what rules he's going to enforce,
and he even talks about
how he's going to do it is kind of
and he even talks about it. He basically says like, look, there's some shades of gray, and you've got to be willing to wade into those waters if you want to protect the world. But that's the last thing, is like just doing what's right because of the label, in spite of what labels the society gives you. And there's not necessarily good or bad. It's nothing's black and white. But anyway, anything else you want to add before we move on to our final thoughts?
No, I think I'm good moving to final thoughts.
All right. Do you want to go first?
You go first. I went first with our hospital stories.
Oh, fair enough. All right. So I couldn't have loved this series more. Like, this is my favorite thing I've watched in 2023. I've watched it twice. I've watched the first episode like 3 or 4 times. I'm
actually wholly disappointed that I didn't time it out such that I got to watch it again before this.
Well, if we'd done it on Friday, you could have, but I wouldn't have had enough time to edit it for next week's release.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I will probably watch it again here in the next month or so. I really, really love this series. I've actually started watching the anime, and I'd watched the East Blue saga, the first section of the anime that the live action's based on.
Yeah,
like 2 years ago, I watched it. I've started rewatching it. The anime's fun. It's a Shonen Jump anime, so it has its flaws. It has those unnecessarily long arcs where like half of the arc is just them fighting and talking while they fight, which is normal. It's like I say, it's a normal Shonen Jump anime.
Those echoes of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, but it's still enjoyable. It's still fun to see. The world building is phenomenal. I really, really hope, especially where Oda's working on the last arc, if ideally it'll take him 2 or 3 years to finish. The anime will be a year behind. They could have the full story to work with in like 3 or 4 years. Netflix could. I hope this goes on for 10 seasons. I hope they're able to adapt the entire story and we actually see all of it in live action. Because I think it's worth it. I think the actors deserve to see this story played out, at least coming to a nice conclusion. I think the writers deserve it. I think Oda deserves seeing it. You know, he's going to get to see it for the manga and the anime, but I think he deserves to see it for the live action too, because he's been so involved, the producers. So I want this to go on. And now we may not touch on this. We may not touch on season 2 when it comes out. We might. Just depends on what's going on with the podcast.
Frank.
Well,
let's be honest here.
Well, I mean,
let's be honest with it. Let us be honest with ourselves.
We probably
if season
will.
2 comes out, we're going to do it.
We probably will, but we may not. You don't know. But anyway.
I can make some very safe assumptions.
Anyway, yeah, I love this. I want to see this whole thing adapted to live action.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun seeing how they do some of the weirder characters later on.
Yeah.
So anyway, your thoughts.
I fought against watching this for a long time. I avoided it for a while because I didn't want to deal with the discourse, because there's a particularly high level of fanboydom with the One Piece. And I will always like if the fanboys get to me before I've had a chance to watch it on my own, I'm going to resist watching it.
Yeah,
almost perpetually. It's just it's a
defense response.
It's an oppositional defiant thing, I guess. But that being said, I knew I was going to watch it, or I knew I was going to like it, and you know what? I did. I thought it was fantastic. I thought a lot of the things that I was worried about, like I said, the thing with the the racial stereotypes and some of those things there, I was frankly worried about some of that, and they handled it all really well. I mean, the whole thing was just fantastic. And then the characters and the way the characters interacted. I mean, like Luffy and Zoro's relationship, Luffy and if nothing else, the Nami and Zoro's relationship is immensely complicated. Is immensely complicated in all of the best possible ways, and that completely took me by surprise. Like it was like the whole thing. It was just well handled, and it was better than I thought it was going to be, because it really could have been a fucking trash fire.
Yeah,
and it was not.
No.
You know, in fact, it was really good.
Yeah, exactly. So there you have it, folks. One Piece, really good.
Indeed.
Yeah. So next time, we are going to talk about the comic created by John Layman and Rob Gilroy, entitled Chew.
Chew. Nom 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 nom.
And with that, that does it for our show. So tune in next time for Chew. Tune in next time for our throwback episode, which I'm not sure what we're doing yet, but I'll find something fun.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's actually, I have an idea, but we'll leave it as a surprise. Anyway, anything you'd like to add, John?
Not my hunky boys.
There we go. Relevant to Our Interests is hosted by John Belliston and Frank Shaw. Produced and edited by Frank Shaw. Theme music arranged by Frank Shaw. Scripting by John Belliston and Frank Shaw. Graphic design by Frank Shaw and Nathan Newell. You can contact us at relevanttoourinterests@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and what used to be Twitter. John and Frank are on many other social media platforms. Hit us up. You can listen to us everywhere you listen to podcasts.